Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feel we never wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey son, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feel we never wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feel we never wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feel we never wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you want where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very good evening, Sunday the 12th of October 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is one of those recent 9 transmissions. I think we've passed 5 years now of these videos going out live on a Sunday night. We first started on Facebook. I bought some equipment. I maxed out a credit card, bought some equipment, and we started. And the reason why was, one, it was COVID. I think it would come up to COVID. And it made a massive difference for people. But we also, from the campaigning perspective, at the time, we were very much bringing to public attention in my own very small hometown of Oldham the cover-up of the Pakistani rape gangs. And the local council, Labour-run council leader at the time was a man called Sean Fielding, and the two MPs, in particular Jim McMahon and Debbie Abrahams, were hell-bent on covering it up, and we exposed them. We used a camera, a microphone, a light, and it was as simple as that, and a very old MacBook computer which blew up not long ago, but did its job. In the beginning, when we put out these broadcasts, our numbers were very small. I think 40, 50, 60 of us from a very small town. And I think most people, on reflection, most people who did not know me, and most people did not know me, did not know what to make of what I was saying. Well, that journey now is 7 years in, and the entire nation, apart from the rape gangs and those who want to cover it up, or those who are complicit in the cover-up, everyone else, I think, is with us. And that's been the journey. And I am unapologetically political. So there's no ambiguity. I do not apologise at all for being political, or for the manner in which I campaigned to get this as far as it has, which is aggressive at times, without a shadow of a doubt, aggressive at times. But you need to understand, and I think now most of you do understand, that those at the highest level of government want this covered up. And because the victims in the main were white working class girls who themselves and their families did not understand how to navigate this, and those who were speaking out at the time, sadly, I think, had very different reasons and motives and methods. It made it easy for it to be sidelined as a far-right conspiracy theory and scared away the majority of people in this country. It took us 7 years, and we are now in a very different place. Nonetheless, as different a place as we are in, many things remain the same. 9 months after the world learned the truth, and 4 months now after the government promised action, Jess Phillips, who is the Minister for Safeguarding Girls and Women, is still stalling. It is now 9 months since Britain's grooming gang scandal became global news. 4 months since the government announced a national inquiry to restore trust and deliver justice. The progress to date is absolutely none. Zilch. Jess Phillips, a woman who made her name in safeguarding women and promoted to Minister for Safeguarding Women and Girls, a natural promotion, a natural appointment. Well, look how far she's fallen. She claimed it was the immediate focus of the government to appoint a chair to lead the inquiry. This was in June, 4 months later. There is no chair, no shortlist made public, no explanation for the delay, and without a chair, there can be no terms of reference, no staff appointments, no hearings. There is no inquiry. Phillips and her department, which is the Home Office, she's a junior minister in the Home Office, was Yvette Cooper, now Shabana Mahmood, the Mirpuri Home Secretary. They're hiding behind process. The pattern, for those of us on this 7-year journey, is a familiar one. Andy Burnham did it, remember? Announce delay, rig it, wait for the attention to fade. You've all seen it. The government are claiming that the inquiry will operate over a 2 to 3 year period. It hasn't even started. A functioning investigation. I'll go into explaining and demonstrating to you what a functioning investigation is, but a functioning investigation would have a chair confirmed by now and an interim team gathering evidence. Survivor groups, campaigners, whistleblowers would be engaged, and instead, Phillips and her team are hiding. And Rupert Lowe has now had enough. And he wrote to the safeguarding minister this week and he got a response. I'll share that response. But in the meantime, his privately funded, remember crowdfunded, £600,000 or more team have already conducted witness interviews, gathered testimony and are preparing for hearings. From what I've seen, he's also speaking about private prosecutions. All of this without civil service support, no ministerial budgets, just a handful of campaigners moving faster than the entire machinery of the Home Office. Jess Phillips has built her career on defending women and girls. In this case, where institutional failure enabled the mass gang rape and exploitation of 100,000 more, possibly, children? Tens of thousands of rape gang members? Men walking free after gang raping little girls? The Minister for Safeguarding Girls has gone silent. No meaningful dialogue with survivor groups, no transparency about timelines, no urgency whatsoever. And remember, so there's no ambiguity. She first attempted to front this by saying there was no need for a national inquiry. She refused to come to Oldham to meet with survivors, and she sent us a letter after sat on it for several months saying a local inquiry is all you need. What does that say about the woman? What I'll say is that every week without a chair appointment reinforces what survivors already suspect. This inquiry was designed to absorb pressure, not to deliver answers. I speak to survivors all the time. None of them are asking for miracles. I'm not asking for a miracle. I doubt any of you are asking for miracles. All we want is a credible chair, an open process, and terms of reference that reflect the severity of what's took place, and a start date. 9 months since the world learned what happened to our nation's children, and 4 months since the government were backed into a corner and forced to support a national inquiry. We have nothing. Jess Phillips promised justice. she's delivered delay. If she believes in protecting victims, she needs to appoint a chair, publish the terms of reference, and begin the inquiry. We know anything less than that is a betrayal. But this time, this betrayal is not Raja Mia ranting at you and trying to force you to see something that I only see. This time, you are seeing it for yourselves. Our government is involved in the cover-up of the gang rape of our nation's children. Why? I think we all know why. This is not about, no, this is not at all about child abuse. This isn't about race relations. This isn't about the passage of time and historical practice where things went wrong. No. This is an industrial scale cover-up involving some of the most senior politicians in this country. And Phillips and her team are doing everything possible to protect their parliamentary colleagues and also senior members of the Labour Party. And I will name them as I have always named them. James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, former leader of Oldham Council, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. Debbie Abrahams MP, we know her as Debbie Kashmir because of her pro-Kashmiri stance. Chair of a government select committee now, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. Former deputy leader of the Labour Party, Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. King of the North, would-be Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. Council leaders that have come and gone, Sean Fielding, Amanda Chadderton, Arud Shah, so many others. Politicians in my town, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. And I know if we went to other towns and cities across this country and we followed this exact process of what we have done in Oldham, we will uncover dozens and dozens of MPs and council leaders, senior officials who are all complicit. And what did they do? Why did they do what they did? My position has not changed. From the outset, that position has been that they traded the lives of little working class white girls for block votes, block postal votes from the Pakistani cartel, gangster infiltrated and increasingly Islamist aligned Muslim communities across the United Kingdom. Rupert Lowe's inquiry team produced a document a couple of months ago where they confirmed 85 local authorities. It's the highest number we've come across, all evidence fact-checked, 85 local authorities. And even then, there were towns and cities missing. I know, for instance, my town, Tameside, was missing off that list because it hadn't gone, when they'd gone through the process, it wasn't there. There are at least 100 local authority areas across this country where these horrific crimes have taken place. They do not want an inquiry, and if the inquiry they will eventually launch will be rigged. And we need to call it out all the way up to that point and expose it once it comes. And the likelihood is that another move will be made on me at that point. Whether to try and censor me, silence me, arrest me, I don't know, but another move will be made on me at that point, because they know what I will do. I will line by line completely dissect what they produce and show to you, as I have been doing for the last 7 years, what they are really up to. And tonight, I will share with you exactly what Jess Phillips is up to. And I'll evidence it in the way I've always evidenced my work, which is why the Labour Party have failed to sue me, which is why Labour Party politicians have failed to have me imprisoned. I do not come to this without some experience. Over 20 years, 25 years in public service. At the highest level. This is why we needed to make it political. And this is why, by making it political, we have their backs against the wall. And we can finish this. But I need your help. A very, very good evening to some of my latecomer friends. I think I saw Gary's name pop up earlier. I saw Charles Garrity's name pop up right at the beginning. Charles Garrity was one of my earliest supporters. He's moved to Fleetwood, I think is where he now lives. And he put up a message earlier about one of the survivors there. Yes, Ellie Reynolds. I have been supporting Ellie for some time, and I'm sure she will go places. She has a journey to travel, and she's an extremely brave young woman from Barrow. So it would not surprise me to see Ellie one day not just be a councillor, but I think she's got what it takes to become an MP. So fingers crossed she goes on that journey, and if any of you can support her on that journey, please do support her on that journey, and other survivors like Ellie. I am sick and tired, if I'm honest with you, of survivors just being pigeonholed as survivors. Oh, isn't this horrific what happened to you? And your opinion on this counts, and it's some sort of sob story people want. They have so much more to offer. And that's those of them who've made it through. Have so much more to offer. Okay, I'm going to share some videos with you. I'm going to go through some content, but I'd like to start with a Telegraph story from the 3rd of September. So we're clear, it's not deja vu here. You know, this is the middle of October now. And there was a Telegraph story from the 3rd of September, I think, has value. Before we get to that, please, thank you Robert Barnes for the super chat. Thank you Tony Martin for the super chat. Please, if you can support me, do support me. I'm 100% community funded. There are no paywalls to any of my work, and I produce, I think, some substantive pieces of work on my newsletter Redwall and therabble.co.uk. So please do sign up to that. It's completely free. You only pay if you can afford to do so and you want to, and then even then it's £3 a month or £30 for a year. Or please support me by buying me a coffee. It's how I survive, and it's how I am able to continue to do the work that I do. I am going to be in Rochdale on Saturday to speak at a rally in the afternoon. Please get there if you are anywhere nearby, and it would be my pleasure to say hello to you, shake your hand, and thank you for the ongoing support. But come and listen to me and listen to other people, and watch how many police officers have surrounded us and how many Antifa scumbags are calling me a Nazi. So this was published in the Telegraph Labour making almost no progress on grooming gangs inquiry. And Jess Phillips, Home Office Minister, tells MPs appointment process is in the final stages. The government has been accused of making almost no progress on plans to investigate grooming gangs. Jess Phillips, a Home Office Minister, told MPs appointment processes was in its final stages, and now she's making things up. A panel of survivors and victims would be part of the final approval. I've never heard of anything so ridiculous in my life. Sir Keir Starmer committed to a fresh national inquiry in June. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, accused the government of having to be dragged kicking and screaming every step of the way on calls for a national inquiry, with almost no progress having been made since it was announced. My office has been in contact with survivors in Oldham today, so this is on the 3rd of September, and they have heard nothing, said Mr Philp. Now we discover no chair has been appointed, there are no terms of reference, there is no news on towns like Oldham or Bradford, nothing of substance at all. This is just not good enough. The government had previously resisted pressure to implement the measure, which is a national inquiry, but then accepted it as a recommendation made by Baroness Casey's review looking at the scale of grooming gangs across the country. Ms Phillips said she and Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, had met prospective candidates for the position of chairman over the summer. So that's the timeline we've got. They've already confirmed that they met with people over the summer. That's August. She told the Commons the chair must have credibility and experience to command the confidence of victims and survivors, as well as the wider public, and meaningful engagement with victims and survivors is paramount. To support this, a dedicated of victims and survivors has been established, which will contribute to that chair selection process. Again, nonsense. They can't do it like that. What they're proposing for a national inquiry is nonsense. This is a critical milestone, which, the appointment of a chair. Of course, it's a critical milestone. It's the first of the milestones. And once an appointment is confirmed, the House will be updated at the earliest opportunity. It takes time to make sure that this process is completely victim-centred. Again, complete nonsense. And I'll explain why. I'll demonstrate to you why it's complete nonsense as we move on. The Safeguarding Minister said there had been scaremongering, that's me, apparently, scaremongering that the inquiry would not cover government officials or those who covered up exploitation, which she described as absolute nonsense. Okay, so she's saying she met with people. So I'm just going to get my pen so I can write this down. She met prospective candidates. Prospective candidates in August. There's a victims panel, a survivors panel, that interview. Part of the interview process. And that it's absolute nonsense. And I've been scaremongering, or we've been scaremongering, that the inquiry would not cover government officials or those who covered up exploitation. And I've named them, haven't I? I've named the politicians. And here's a quote, so there's no ambiguity. Let me say and be very clear that it will cover what it needs to cover to uncover the truth, and no stone will be left unturned. She added, if people are found by our court system to have undermined and have disgraced public office, then of course they should be sent to prison. Esther McVey then criticised it And I won't go on, but there you go. So what happened then is Rupert Lowe, via his rape gang inquiry team, wrote to Jess Phillips, still waiting, as to what's going on. And this is the response that he got from Jess Phillips. In fact, let's do it this way. Yeah, this way. On the second, and this is Jess Phillips's response. This is Jess Phillips's response to Rupert Lowe. Word for word, Rupert Lowe's published this. On the 2nd of September, I updated Parliament on our progress. Okay, that's why that was on the 3rd of September that I just really shared with you. We are moving at pace. So that's what she's claiming. We are moving at pace. To establish the National Inquiry under the Inquiries Act 2025. It will be overseen by an independent commission with statutory powers to compel evidence and testimony so that institutions can be held to account for current and historic failures. So now what she's saying is she's introduced the language that says independent commission. That means there will be a chair, and the chair will be part of, will lead an independent commission. I've not heard the term independent commission used previously. I don't know if any of you had. With statutory powers to compel evidence and testimony. Ready? Not my words, her words. So that institutions can be held to account for current and historic failure. Do you see that? Can you see that? Institutions can be held to account for current and historic failure. Nothing about government officials, nothing about politicians, nothing about individuals. This is her words, not mine. And the omission, the omission of councillors, police, MPs is not accidental. You do not hold institutions to account. Yes? Am I scaremongering? Am I deceiving? Am I lying? Or am I simply highlighting the inconsistencies that make me believe that this cover-up is continuing to be nothing more than a cover-up? This is not my words. These are Jess Phillips's words. It will be overseen by an independent commission, introduced the terminology for the first time, with statutory powers to compel evidence and testimony so that institutions can be held to account for current and historic failures. You do not hold to account institutions. You hold to account individuals. The inquiry will be independent of government and designed to command the confidence of victims and survivors and the wider public. Our immediate focus is on appointing a chair. Well, that was your focus in September, where you told us that the interviews had took place, or you'd met with prospective client, prospective appointments in August, in the summer. So if you've met with prospective candidates in August, where's the progress since August? Our immediate focus is on appointing a chair with the credibility and experience to lead the inquiry, agreeing the terms of reference, in consultation with the chair. So that means that the terms of reference, again it's there, is going to be co-designed, or no. The terms of reference is going to be designed by the government, by Jess Phillips and the Labour Party, who are protecting the very Labour Party politicians involved in the cover-up. So they're going to be agreeing the terms of reference in consultation with the chair that they appoint and a broad range of voices. Who has heard of this before? A broad range of voices determining the terms of reference. Who is this broad range of voices? And embedding a trusted, trauma-informed process for victim and survivor engagement throughout its design, governance and evidence gathering and reporting. Again, that's complete and utter nonsense. Because there's nothing stopping them designing a trauma-informed process for victim and survivor engagement and bolting it on into the actual scheme. What does a trauma-informed process actually look like? We will then identify the first areas for review. That word review should set off alarm bells. Review is when you look at something, you review it. You do not interrogate it, you do not investigate it. It is not an inquiry. A review is not an inquiry. Begin targeted local investigations. That means they've already determined the parameters of how this will work. Again, this is completely wrong. This is not how a national inquiry works. You can't say, on one hand, we will agree the terms of reference in consultation with a chair we've not appointed and a broad range of voices who we don't know who they are, never mind not spoken with yet. And then you can't then say, we've already decided what the process will look like. A review and targeted local investigations and report findings at both local and national level. No, a national inquiry does not just report findings at local and national level. It has the powers to recommend prosecutions. I can report at both local and national level. That is not the purpose of a national inquiry. This, what she's explaining, is no different to Andy Burnham's so-called assurance review, a rigged process designed to cover up the grooming and gang rape of our nation's children. And the inquiry is expected to operate over a 2 or 3 year period. How can you set the time frame when you've not got the terms of reference and the chair's not been appointed? There's no independent commission. It's not for you to determine. It's not for you to determine, Jess Phillips. This will maximize the number of areas it can examine. You do not examine a number of areas. You investigate. The language she's using, and let's be clear now, Jess Phillips isn't the brightest. You put her under pressure and you see what she does. I don't know who has authorised releasing this. I would have been sacked if I'd supported a government minister in producing something as flimsy as this that demonstrates their thinking right from the offset. This will maximize the number of areas it can examine while remaining time limited so that victims and survivors receive answers swiftly. The purpose of a national inquiry is not to give victims and survivors answers. The purpose of a national inquiry is to help deliver justice. These are her own words, not mine. You can clearly see that this is a cover-up taking place right before your eyes. You just need to understand how to interrogate these documents. The first one for me is they want to hold to account institutions rather than individuals. Second is they want to appoint a chair who will agree to their terms of reference where parameters have already been set. And then what they want to do is review, examine, report findings. That is not the task of a national inquiry. That is the task of a light touch, touchy-feely, in assurance review that doesn't get to any of the truths of who, why, how many, and what will the prosecutions look like. Thank you. Thank you for that, Aztec. Thank you, Rian. And thank you so much, Owen. Now, if you're finding value in this work, I don't just turn up, sit down, and analyse this way. It is a skill. It's a skill I've learnt to my detriment, if I'm honest with you, over many years. So please, at the very least, press like. There's over 1,400 of you who've so far joined me this evening. So at the very least, press like. Subscribe, sign up to the channel. My YouTube subscribers are pitifully low. In fact, all of my views on this platform and the way I work, I sometimes ask myself why I bother. I think a picture of a cat or something will probably get more views than the content I produce. But I'm here, you're here, so you're here for a reason. Hopefully I'm providing you with the information you need to remain committed to making sure that they don't get away with it, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get away with it. Rupert Lowe responded to Jess Phillips with this. Dear Minister, with respect, in your response you have laid out what you intend to do, not what you have done. The national inquiry was announced on the 14th of June. It is now October. What has actually been achieved in that time? I and the British public would therefore appreciate a direct update, not on plans or aspirations, but on specific actions taken since the inquiry announcement. As I have stated from the beginning, our independent rape gang inquiry stands ready to assist however we can. I look forward to a concrete reply setting out what has happened, who is responsible, and when the inquiry will actually begin. Now, I'm not going to criticise Rupert Lowe and how he's read that, but I've read Jess Phillips' response in a very different way. This isn't just about delays. You can see from the language here, what's taking place here is very much laying the ground for a cover-up. And you can see it's written for concrete information. He is becoming increasingly concerned at the lack of any movement. I'm here to tell you that having spent a long time in this field, working exclusively on this issue, I'm not concerned by the lack of any movement. I'm more concerned by what the movement actually has been. And I believe I've demonstrated that to you this evening. No, Chris, I look at my numbers, trust me, they're pitiful. Let me put my headphones on. A couple of things I want to play.
But also, fundamentally, not a single person, no official, no police officer, no councillor has ever been prosecuted for covering up these crimes. And the systematic cover-up that it has taken to hide tens of thousands of victims and perpetrators is almost unimaginable. The idea that this could be nobody's fault, that nobody bears criminal liability for this, is utterly beyond credibility. The local officials, the local police officers, the local councillors who have failed these children, and I'll just take a moment to be honest about what that means, because it's easy to speak in sort of more sanitized terms. You know, when we say failed these children, what we mean is that they were abandoned to large-scale gang rape. The people who knew, the people who let this happen, the people who built cultures so afraid of being called racist that they let children pay this unspeakable price, they belong in prison. And only a proper national inquiry will ever manage to do that.
So Katie Lamb, and I admire that young woman. I do. I think she's extremely brave, and I admire her. I think she's a conservative, isn't she? And I have working relationships and admiration for people across the political spectrum. I'm not on one side or another. I'm an issue-based campaigner. I'm not a politician. I'm here to hopefully see justice done. And then, as I've mentioned to all of my friends, sit on a park bench with a flask of tea and a sandwich and see out my days. We've got a senior Conservative minister now also confirming the cover-up and the need of public officials' involvement and the need for people to go to prison. I was branded an extremist for having these views and opinions, and now one of the most senior opposition MPs is pretty much echoing word for word what I've been saying for 7 years and what I've been arrested for repeatedly. It gets better. It gets better.
Have you seen this Channel 4 documentary on grooming gangs? And you said, didn't you, oh, we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? You must regret that remark.
I absolutely regret that remark, and I, immediately and quickly said so, and was really sorry about that. And I'm glad you've asked me, because I know it was a point of discussion on your channel a lot.
It was.
And what really upset me was to think that I had upset people, that people had taken that as somehow dismissing the issue, which absolutely was not what I was seeking to do or my intention, because there is not a fibre in my body that thinks we should not hold to account absolutely publicly and robustly those responsible for the terrible grooming gangs, that we need to also expose and hold to account those that aided and assisted or covered up or turned a blind eye. And those victims have suffered long enough, and I really want to be clear that that is something I've always stood for.
Just give me 1 second. So that is Lucy Powell. Lucy Powell was my MP. Last time I saw Lucy Powell, I had a cup of tea with her. She's a bright woman. I have, and she attempted to play the race card as a we are the racist, and it backfired on her massively. And now she's running to be the deputy leader of the Labour Party. Lucy Powell has just confirmed of a cover-up in the rape gangs, and she wants to see those people brought to justice who aided and assisted or covered up or turned a blind eye. That means her fellow politicians, the ones I've named, because I can quantify and clearly demonstrate how they meet the definition of being involved in either aiding and assisting or covering up or turning a blind eye. And they're not one and the same. She used that terminology, aided and assisted, 1, covered up, 2, and turned a blind eye, 3. They're 3 distinct actions. And the most likely next deputy leader of the Labour Party is now confirming the cover-up. The next deputy leader, Lucy Powell MP, is now confirming the cover-up. This is not a far-right bandwagon. These are not barefaced lies. We now have the next would-be Labour Party deputy leader confirming the cover-up and wanting to bring to justice those involved in the cover-up. Do you believe that happened accidentally? I don't. I believe that happened because you and I made this political. And we refused to look the other way, and we continued to work in the, it's a term they use, but it's a term I think we put into practice, forensic and detailed manner. We campaigned on the evidence. We campaigned with empathy. We avoided the racist traps and the far-right extremist traps, of which there are many in this field. And we have now forced the woman who will likely be the next deputy leader of the Labour Party to confirm that those who aided and assisted, 1, covered up, 2, turned a blind eye, 3, should face justice. It is absolutely. If I had the energy and this was a newer journey for me, I'd be dancing here and going whoop whoop as Rian has. We've got Katie Lamb echoing word for word what we've said. We've got Lucy Powell confirming the cover-up. And unfortunately what we've got is the minister responsible, Jess Phillips, on the verge of enacting a national inquiry that will not be fit for purpose. And if I'm frustrated, if I come across frustrated, it's because I need the information I present to go out there to as many people as possible. And of course I am blacklisted. Through no fault of my own. So I'll share this with you, which I think you will find value in. I do what I do, and I vid this for you all. And don't worry about the document itself. I'll share it, and no doubt someone will pick up on it and run with it and rewrite it or redraft it. So this is essentially a best practice timeline for a national inquiry. I've looked at other national inquiries and what should happen, and this is what should happen. 1. There should be announcement and commissioning within weeks 0 to 2. So when a scandal breaks, the responsible minister quickly announces the establishment of an inquiry under the Inquiries Act 2005. The Cabinet Office sets up an inquiry secretariat in search for a chair to begin. So there you go. The Cabinet Office is responsible for that. Has that task been done? That's what you should be asking her. For example, when Grenfell Tower inquiry took place, announced within days of the tragedy, COVID-19 inquiry announced publicly in May 2021 with cross-party consultation. There you go. Why is there no cross-party consultation on this? Who are the broad voices? Who are the broad voices? And the expected time frame from the announcement to the appointment of the chair is within 2 weeks. What we have here was announced in 2025. It is now October 2025. No framework, no admin team, no updates. The chair would have been appointed between weeks 2 and 8. The chair is usually appointed within 1 to 2 months of the announcement. Grenfell, the chair was appointed in 2 weeks. COVID-19, chair appointed in 6 weeks. Manchester Arena inquiry, the chair and the terms were announced together. It's usually within 2 months at the most. At the moment, what we have is not just no chair appointed, there's not even one being shortlisted. And remember, the small print proves that she met with prospective candidates in August. Three, draft and publish terms of reference. Once appointed, the chair collaborates with ministers, legal counsel and survivors to define scope and powers. They've already created their own survivors panel. Survivors have contacted me and told me that many of the survivors on that panel are in the pockets of the Labour Party. In Grenfell, the terms were published 6 weeks from the chair appointment. COVID-19 inquiry, the draft terms after 12 weeks. Finalised in 6 months. Do you see? This isn't done quickly in terms of the terms of reference. So if it's 6 months, and remember, Jess Phillips herself went on about the complex nature of the terms of reference. The terms of reference won't be ready till March. The current situation, 4 months on, no chair, no terms of reference, no consultation. And then of course you've got to have a secretariat, legal counsel and the infrastructure. COVID inquiry is the best example, fully staffed within 4 months of the terms publication. So to get up and going before you've even spoken with anyone. This is a 9-month process. You see, I'm just showing you. It's a 9-month process minimum if it goes to schedule. This thing isn't even going to start in terms of what an inquiry does, which is investigate, until next year. So there is a question I want to ask you, and I want to bring something up on my end, so you'll have to just give me a minute while I bring it up, because I've for some reason haven't brought it up, and I'm trying to work out where I put it. Sorry, says he. Maybe now would be a time for me to get a drink. Maybe for you to get a drink. We're here. And if you're here and I'm here, and let me just find something that I need to find and share with you. So if you give me 5 minutes or so, get yourself a drink and we'll continue. Maybe this will be a good time for the thousands of you that are here to perhaps consider buying me a cup of coffee. I'll tell you how many I've had. Three people have bought me a coffee this evening. So thank you to those 3 people. Play the song and let me go and find what I need to find and get a drink. Yeah, I'll have to dig that out, Gary. I don't really drink anymore, Helen. It's a rare thing. Before I moved back here, I was tequila and rum was my thing of choice. But no, I don't. I need a sharp mind for what I do, and I just can't be at all dull. So it's for that reason rather than anything else. It's just so I need to be constantly sharp. Okay, so I've done a piece of work. I'll share it tomorrow, and it will show you the potential reasons for the delay. And there are multiple reasons, plausible, overlapping, for why Jess Phillips and the Home Office have failed to appoint a chair or publish terms of reference. And I've grouped them under three broad categories. One political, two bureaucratic, and the third is, of course, strategic. The political avoidance is about risk management. It's the fear of a political backlash. Any credible chair would inevitably examine how police forces, councils and politicians, including Labour-led authorities, enabled or covered up the abuse. Any credible chair would have to do that. This would implicate serving MPs, metropolitan mayors, senior civil servants, remember? And potentially cabinet members. Next, they would be protecting institutional reputations. A thorough inquiry could expose systemic negligence across government departments, particularly the Home Office and Department for Education as well. Officials would prefer a limited, slow inquiry that blunts public outrage but avoids deep accountability. A third point there is the election optics. The political avoidance is also about election optics. Report in 2 to 3 years, and I've just shown you won't start for 9 months. You won't report in 2 to 3 years. We know this because we've seen it in Oldham with the local inquiry. It'll be the same here with the national inquiry. The general election, there is not a chance in hell these people will produce the findings of a national inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our nation's children prior to a national inquiry, prior to a general election. No chance. Ministers will want to avoid explosive revelations during the campaigning period. Delaying the appointment effectively kicks the inquiry's start time beyond the next election cycle, insulating Labour from immediate fallout. Yeah, they won't release the findings. We just need to work backwards. When do we need to start it to make sure that the findings don't come out before the next general election? That is what's taking place here as well. Remember, I said overlapping. It's not one or the other, overlapping. And the other overlap, of course, is the internal Labour conflict. I've just played you a video of the would-be deputy leader of the Labour Party confirming the cover-up. And those involved should be held to account. Unheard of. A Manchester MP. To the left, Jim McMahon and Debbie Abrahams. To the right, Andy Burnham. And Angela Rayner, remember. Yet she's come out and said that this issue cuts across Labour's identity politics fault lines. Some in the party fear addressing ethnicity, culture or ideology in the rape gangs could reignite factional battles between the progressives within the organisation and its working class members. Phillips is not just being paralysed by internal resistance. Through that lens, you've also seen the bloc Muslim vote at play here. How do you think her Pakistani brethren will react to their brethren being exposed? So what you've got, first and foremost, is political avoidance and risk management. And I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4. There's more, but I've given you 4 of the main headlines there. Then you've got, no, I'm holding this pen for. Then you've got bureaucratic obstruction and civil service control. There's the Whitehall bottlenecks. Civil servants in the Home Office and Department for Justice are notorious for dragging out appointments to inquiries they don't want, and they don't want this inquiry. Dominic Cummings, you've all heard him talk about what the civil service tried to do, what the government department tried to do. Due diligence and consultation becomes tools for obstruction. And there's the legal negotiations. The terms of reference, most of you didn't know this, but the terms of reference must be approved by the Treasury Solicitor and Cabinet Office. Officials will be arguing over the power of compulsion, scope, national versus local, and classification of sensitive material. All of these are potential delaying tactics. And you know, you are experiencing it already, that the chair selection will have issues. Finding a chair, what was her words? Credibility and experience, who isn't already compromised by establishment ties, will be difficult. I think ICSA went through 3 chairs for this very reason. And you can see it's not even a genuine priority for them. It's not even a genuine priority. The longer they search, the longer they can pretend progress is being made. We are working at pace, is our exact words, remember. Then, of course, you've got the strategic delay and narrative management. Number 3, buying time for narrative control. The longer the process drags, the more control ministers retain over the public framing. By the time a chair is appointed, they can argue that most lessons have already been learned and shift the inquiry towards healing rather than accountability. That's right, watch that emerge. Instead of an inquiry, they will shift it to healing. It's another card in Jess Phillips' playbook, and watch that language emerge as this journey continues. Raja, you don't seem to have much faith in these people. I've worked alongside these people, and these people have tried to imprison me, and some of these people have endorsed my murder. I do not have any faith in these people. Indeed. They will be coordinating with legacy reviews, so the government will be synchronizing the inquiry's eventual terms with prior reviews. The Casey report or the Oldham Assurance Review, if you remember Andy Burnham wanting in January when he changed his tune, and the Conservative Chris Philp, for whatever reason, says, oh, the Mayor of Greater Manchester is with us. Chris, he didn't stop to listen to what the Mayor of Greater Manchester said. He wanted a limited review that accepted his assurance review's findings as facts on the ground. This is what they will do. They will coordinate with legacy reviews and say, oh, in the interest of time, in the interest of speed, for the benefit of the victims and survivors. But we all know that these historical reviews, these legacy reviews, were all rigged. And as someone who sent me a message a couple of weeks ago, cancelling the membership, and it's not, any of you can cancel. That's not an issue. I've stopped following it. I got a bit bored of it. All you do is talk about this. They are relying on that. It's called public fatigue. They will want to test public fatigue. political strategists know outrage has a half-life. By delaying for months, years, they can count on dwindling media coverage and a demoralised survivor community, reducing scrutiny once the inquiry finally begins. I don't have any meeting with Rupert anytime soon, Amy. My involvement in the rape gang inquiry is I offer my support as and when they ask, and I try and take them stuff that I think is of value or interest, and sometimes they pick up on it, sometimes they don't. I'm not Sammy Woodhouse or one of the others. I am a brown-faced Muslim man, and it is not right for me to be front and centre of the engagement with survivors. There's strategic work I can do and I'd like to do, but sometimes they listen to me, sometimes they don't. And I've learned to shrug my shoulders and still try. I'm actually on a call tomorrow with Ben Habib. He's asked for some to speak to me on a matter, and I think I piss people off with that as well. I'm not here to take political sides. You've seen I won't condemn Tommy Robinson. I speak positively of Katie Lamb, even Lucy Powell and what she said. You've seen how I've behaved. So I'm not in it for the politics in terms of party politics. I'm in it to deliver an outcome, and I think some of those involved in the party politics don't take kindly to me. So that's what we're up to. So you can get, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. I don't see it that way. My own community, I've never described my own community by my ethnicity or my religion, Mary. I describe my community, if I look at it through a lens, I look at it through the lens of the working class. So I consider my community to be the working class. So, that's what's going on. There is a sequence for what needs to happen before the national inquiry starts. No one seems to have stopped to understand any of that. Doesn't surprise me. And Jess Phillips is rewriting history. I want to play something for you because it put a smile on my face, and I want to share a story with you.
If a group of people move to a country en masse and say, for the purposes of this discussion, it is to be understood that we wish to operate as a large collective in this country with rules that don't sit well with the existing legal status quo. But you know what? You can't do anything about it because this is our law. What you are dealing with de facto is colonisation.
Yes. So this woman is amazing. Dr. Anna Lutfi. So she's basically talking about the way in which the Islamist, the Pakistani sectarians are creating silos, their own ring-fence communities. It's what I've been talking about now for a number of years. And I met her for the first time when I went to London a couple of weeks to speak for a debating club. And on the left was Baroness Cox, and on the right was Anna. And I realised then, it was another recognition then, that we're winning. We now have credible heavyweights who are on our side. And as each day passes, as well as the politicians from across parties coming on board, heavyweight, I mean, she's a human rights lawyer, heavyweight human rights lawyers, baronesses. And why are we winning? Because we're not a bunch of idiots who are ranting and repeating rabid racist nonsense. We're very much focused, and here we are. So she's concerned, I'm concerned, and I think what you'll find is this man is worried. That's Andy Burnham. I've been writing a lot about Sharia law and Sharia councils and stuff, and people in the communities where I was raised, my friends, some of my friends aren't happy. Raja, you need to be quiet about this. I'm not going to be quiet about this, lads. I believe in a secular democracy. I'm not going to support any backdoor Sharia and this balkanisation of the United Kingdom taking place. Not a chance in hell. So, this is Andy Burnham's official Twitter account. Raja Mia regularly makes misleading allegations about the Mayor of Greater Manchester's response to child sexual exploitation. For an accurate record of the steps taken to support victims to get justice, face up to past systemic failures and ensure their perpetrators face the consequences of their crimes, please see this timeline. They publish something and you can see his official account is making reference to me and about I'm making misleading allegations. So there's no ambiguity. Andy Burnham, it is my belief, and I will testify at the national inquiry, providing it allows me to testify, that you were one of the many politicians involved in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our nation's children. Now that is misleading. I'm not sure where I'm misleading anyone, because I'm very clear on my position. I will testify against you for your role in the cover-up of the gang rape of children and how your assurance review was rigged from the start and how it allowed or attempted to allow your Labour Party colleagues Jim McMahon, Debbie Abrahams and Angela Rayner to use it to say it's time to move on. Raja Mia is a liar. Well, now the cover-up is confirmed, Andy Burnham. So, put up or shut up, lad. Sue me if you want. I'll see you at the High Court. Or I'll see you when I give evidence against you. Or better still, if you've got the bottle, Andy Burnham, bring it on. Name the time and place. Name the time and place and I will debate this out with you in front of the public. You bring your entire team of advisors, as many notepads as you want, and I will just bring myself and what is in here. And I have no doubt by the time I'm finished with you, you piece of shit, the entire nation will see just how complicit you were and why Lucy Powell MP is right. To say those involved in the cover-up should be held to account. Thank you for the super chats that have come in. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know your name, but thank you so much. Melanie, thank you. Alex, thank you for the £5. Martin, wow, £20. Thank you so much. And John, thank you for the £10. What I do with all of the income I get from YouTube, including your super chats and the subscriptions and stuff via YouTube, I put it together, I host events, and I put on training or meals and stuff like that. So that's where that money goes. It doesn't come to me. 7 years in, I'm still here. Our numbers are growing. We now even have Labour Party MPs agreeing with us. We've come a long way. We have such a long way yet to go. And it is entirely up to you. It is entirely up to you. We can win this. Jess Phillips and the Home Office, we can beat them. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. I am very clear that despite my blacklisting in the mainstream media, the content I share ends up in those places anyway. I have no need for the fame or any of that. I'm not interested. I just need the means to continue and for you to continue to amplify this, because that's how we get the message out there. So that's where I'm up to. If you find value in my work, Red Wall and the Rabble, we're still not at 10,000 subscribers. Please subscribe, costs you nothing. And if you have the pockets deep enough to support me with £3 a week, £3 a month even, or £30 for the year, please sign up to Red Wall and the Rabble. Makes a massive, massive difference. These are the links. This is me. And I've said to you many times, it's not for me to do a video with Tommy Robinson. I think Tommy Robinson's on his own journey. He has an understanding of what I'm doing. I have an understanding of what he's doing. I don't need his endorsement, and he definitely doesn't need me for anything. I engage with Tommy Robinson in a space and they just sideline me immediately. He knows that. You people need to understand that. 7 years in. Hopefully see you next week in Rochdale, in person, where I'll be speaking. Thank you very, very much. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.